The following broadcast is a Universal Citizen media production and is not a Galactic Historian product. The facts and circumstances of this broadcast has been taken from hundreds of accounts of demonic possessions and exorcisms being performed. We at Universal Citizen Media strive for authenticity and have stuck true to the narrative of these accounts. Let he who is of strong heart seize, savor, and learn from this broadcast, and may the profane fall away, as even in the midst of a flood the fool remains thirsty.
The Reckoning of Felicity. Chapter 3, Whispers of Warning. A subtle shift had begun to haunt Felicity's every step. In the early light of dawn, as mist rolled over the quiet suburbs, Felicity awoke to a strange silence that contrasted with the usual chorus of birdsong. Her eyelids, heavy with mysterious sleep, fluttered open to a room that no longer smelled of lavender and citrus, but instead carried an edge of damp earth and forgotten memories. Friends noticed the change in her demeanor during their morning walks, whispering comments about her distant gaze and fidgety hands. Even the serene faces of familiar neighbors betrayed silent questions as they observed her awkward smile and restless eyes. The murmur of unease was subtle at first, like the soft rustle of leaves before a storm. That night, within the enveloping darkness, Felicity was visited by a series of unsettling dreams. Vivid images of shadowy corridors, echoing with soft, unintelligible whispers, invaded her rest. In these dreams, a figure draped entirely in darkness roamed endless halls, occasionally pausing to stare directly at her with eyes that sparkled with cryptic knowledge. Each dream left her with a lingering chill and a sense of foreboding, as if some ancient call was coaxing her toward unknown destinies. The dreams were not isolated sleep disturbances. They recurred with an intensity that left her questioning the thin line between her subconscious and a realm of hidden phantoms. As days merged into a montage of restless routines, Felicity's family began to notice drastic behavioral increments. At family dinners, conversation that once flowed naturally now faltered when Felicity would abruptly fixate on a shadow that danced along the candlelight or seemed to converse with voices that only she could hear. Her younger siblings would exchange nervous glances as she muttered incomprehensible warnings about visitors unseen beyond the walls. Her mother, ever the nurturer, scraped away tears of worry as she attempted to soothe Felicity, only to be met with a piercing stare that suggested her daughter was no longer entirely present. Despite the reassurances of routine, a creeping disquiet had settled into every corner of their home. Late one evening, as twilight succumbed to moonlight, Felicity experienced something that would come to alter the course of her reality. While sitting by the window, a dark figure appeared briefly in the reflection, a slender silhouette that evoked memories of past tragedies and unspoken threats. The vision was accompanied by a sound much like a distant heartbeat, pulsing in rhythm with her own anxious pulse. In a frantic state, she rushed to search for any trace of the visitor, but every corner yielded only the emptiness of an unlit room. Yet the sensation of being watched lingered, as if the walls themselves held secrets destined to eventually unravel before her eyes. The days that followed were marked by a series of inexplicable coincidences and eerie happenings. In the park where Felicity once delighted in the warmth of the sun, clouds gathered unexpectedly, and a cold wind carried faint voices. Neighbors reported hearing soft, melodic murmurs, not carried by any discernible source. One evening, while walking along a worn pathway, Felicity distinctly heard her name called repeatedly, echoing from a direction that defied logic. The whispers, both seductive and terrifying, seemed to grow louder each day, merging with the rustle of leaves and the creak of old wood in abandoned homes. Encounters with the supernatural grew in frequency. At times, Felicity would find herself lost in a labyrinth of memories that were not her own. An old photograph of a smiling family, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, began to resemble scenes from her erratic dreams. In another instance, an antique mirror in the family hallway, once a silent relic of the past, reflected fleeting images of a dark figure standing behind her. The paradox of her experiences left her grappling with the notion that reality was fraying at the edges. Friends who once exchanged hearty laughter now found themselves cautiously engaging her in conversation, their eyes filled with both pity and concern. Felicity's outward appearance was no longer a faithful reflection of her inner turmoil. Once known for her gentle, lively charm, she now exhibited recurrent episodes of distraction. In crowded gatherings, her gaze would slip into distant realms, as though conversations and gentle festivities were mere backdrops to an unseen drama. One afternoon, during a casual art exhibit visit, she halted in her tracks at the sight of a painting, an abstract swirl of darkness pierced by pinpricks of light that evoked her recurring nightmare. The painting served as a cruel reminder of the spectral presence that haunted her thoughts, a presence that, despite her best efforts to ignore it, was becoming impossibly real. Among the murmurings of the paranormal, one name began to echo with increasing frequency: Exorcitus. The term, spoken in hushed tones by mysterious figures in the back rooms of local cafes and in cryptic messages exchanged among mutual acquaintances, hinted at an ancient, malevolent force. Tales of Exorcitus were often wrapped in allegory and myth, describing an entity that bridged the gap between the natural world and the supernatural. Felicity found herself subconsciously drawn to mentions of this phenomenon, as if her fate were intertwined with the chaotic energy it promised. Conversations in dimly lit corners soon evolved into warnings, murmurs that warned of an impending reckoning that would upend not only her life, but the lives of all who came near her orbit. With each passing day, Felicity's reality grew increasingly disjointed. The once comforting hum of everyday life had descended into a cacophony of disjointed sounds and spectral echoes. In an old diary discovered in the attic, cryptic entries detailing encounters with a darkness named Exorcitus gave credence to her fears. The diary, filled with frantic scribblings and hastily drawn symbols, recounted terror-stricken nights when the presence made itself known in ways both subtle and overt. Each entry served as a forewarning, chronicling the slow, inexorable encroachment of a force that defied all rational explanation. In her loneliness, Felicity pored over the diary, each word fueling her anxiety and drawing her further into a labyrinth of uncertainty. As Felicity tried to return to normalcy, her attempts to explain her experiences to others were met with skepticism. Yet even in doubt, the signs were too many to ignore. At a community storytelling session held in an old town hall, an elderly man recounted similar happenings from his youth, with the same somber tone that now resonated in Felicity's heart. The shared experiences, though fragmented by the passage of time, united strangers in their mutual recognition of an unseen horror. These encounters served as small, desperate beacons of understanding in a sea of uncharted terror, suggesting that Felicity's plight was part of a larger tapestry woven with the threads of the paranormal. In the midst of unanswered questions and ominous signs, Felicity embarked on a quest for meaning. She retraced her steps through old neighborhoods and forgotten alleys, seeking the origins of her inexplicable visions. In a derelict building that had once been a community center, she discovered remnants of past gatherings and notices scrawled on crumbling walls that bore symbols eerily reminiscent of those that appeared in her dreams. This journey through time and decay was fraught with moments of striking clarity, interspersed with deep, unsettling dread. The old building, draped in the shadows of former camaraderie, now echoed with a loneliness that mirrored her own internal desolation. One stormy evening, As rain battered the windows and wind howled in an almost jubilant frenzy, Felicity realized that the boundary between her waking world and the spectral realm had nearly dissolved. In a moment of rare lucidity, she found herself conversing with a reflection of her own battered soul, each word exchanged like a shard of broken glass slicing through the thin veil of reality. The conversation was both intimate and horrifying, a dialogue that revealed fragments of an ancient curse and hinted at the inexorable pull of Exorcitus. The intensity of the moment left her trembling, yet it also ignited a spark of determination to uncover the truth behind her transformation. In the days and nights that followed this revelatory encounter, every moment was imbued with an ineffable sense of danger. Felicity noticed that even the boundaries of her familiar surroundings began to exhibit traits of otherworldliness. The mirror in the hallway appeared more reflective of hidden secrets than merely her own image, and the creaking floorboards seemed to murmur timeless warnings. Casual interactions with acquaintances became fraught with stifled tension as her internal battle manifested in subtle yet disconcerting ways. A shift in tone, a hesitant pause, a lingering look that suggested she could see beyond the ordinary. Even as she struggled to maintain semblances of normalcy, the enigmatic force of Exorcitus loomed ever larger, its presence an unyielding undercurrent that refused to be denied. With every whispered secret and every eerie manifestation, the evidence of a converging destiny grew more palpable. Friends who once considered her whimsicality now saw genuine signs of a struggle against an invisible enemy. The unsettling visions and relentless nightmares were no longer elements of mere fancy. They were harbingers of an impending clash between forces known and unknown. The charged atmosphere of impending upheaval was underscored by small, yet significant details. A faded tapestry in the parlor, an oddly familiar lullaby on a neighbor's radio, and a sudden chill that swept through the room just as she passed by. Felicity found herself teetering on the precipice between a familiar past and an uncertain future, as if every step forward was a step into deeper darkness. In a final act of desperation, Felicity sought solace in the wisdom of a local historian reputed to understand the town's more enigmatic legends. Amid a cluttered archive of murmured chronicles and forgotten manuscripts, the historian spoke of Exorcitus as an ancient entity with the power to unmoor souls from the sanctity of normalcy. His words, heavy with the weight of lived experience, resonated with Felicity as she recalled the earliest moments of her own silent descent. The historian described how the entity's influence had once spread like a slow poison, leaving only fractured lives and unending sorrow in its wake. Each sentence underscored the peril of ignoring these spectral warnings, and Felicity, now fully aware of her precarious position, listened intently as the chilling prophecy unfolded. In the dim light of the archive, Felicity came to a recognition that would forever alter her understanding of her existence. The blend of familial concern, spectral harbingers, and cryptic messages coalesced into a singular truth. Her life would never return to its former simplicity. The pathway to rehabilitation was obscured by an onslaught of paranormal events, where every comforting facade was layered upon deep-seated omens of doom. Despite overwhelming uncertainty, a trace of resolve flickered within her. With each whispered warning and every cold shadow that danced at the edge of her vision, Felicity realized that the time to confront the darkness was drawing inexorably near.
Nex adu immortalis, libri spondeo nex, ad hoc mort animadvertor, opero antime. Salus est procul
Hey guys, this is David Hurd, just letting you guys know that we've completed 2 online stores for your convenience and for your budget. The first is our software store, which is at shop.onexa.com. We've grouped all the AI tools that we've created, including a tool that will allow you to actually create employees for your business. The second is the shop.arsessentia.org store, where you can buy merchandise as well as self-improvement courses for yourself. These courses are internationally accredited by world bodies such as the Yoga Alliance, the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, and so on. Yeah, guys, so just check out our store and let us know what you think. And remember, if there's anything that you don't see in the store, we can absolutely custom build these tools for you. So if your business has a specific absolute requirement, we can build stuff for you from scratch. Okay? Check out our store, guys, and let us know what you think. Take care.